Texas as a hurricane. Nicholas, now a tropical storm, dumping huge amounts of rain, posing a serious threat of flooding to parts of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Californians going to the polls today, deciding whether to boot Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom from office. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 7 points, NASDAQ futures down 2, S&P futures 2 points higher. More details at srnnews.com.
The voice of Griswold, Jewett City and Plainfield, SNSN.
Here's a look at your local weather forecast on SNSN. We can expect mostly sunny skies for Tuesday. Temperatures right around 76 degrees and a little bit of a wind out of the south, 5 to 7 miles per hour. Tonight, 30% chance of showers and maybe a thunderstorm. Mostly cloudy skies. Otherwise, temperatures dipping down to about 63. And for Wednesday, a 30% chance of showers and also a thunderstorm sometime in the morning. Partly sunny skies otherwise. Temperatures right around 83 degrees.
Did you know that most unintentional injuries and related deaths occur off the job? And even often when least expected, during a vacation, while doing chores at home, or even while driving around. According to Injury Facts, over 167,000 people died from unintentional injuries related to deaths in 2018. The National Safety Council encourages everyone to be aware of hazards related to leisure recreational activities, so please take proper safety precautions. The following has been brought to you by Griswold Health and Safety.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's 8:33 on a Tuesday morning. Mike is here. Well, that's me and Rich Wassel. Hey, Rich.
Good morning.
How are you doing? How was your week? We haven't seen you in about a week or so.
It's been crazy.
Yeah, what's been going on?
Well, the usual work.
School. See now everybody says, "Oh, it's been crazy. It's been nuts and everything." But then you ask them, "What's been crazy?"
I can come up with a few things. Driving kids around, work, school.
So life.
Yeah.
Life has been just kind of bringing you to that point.
I enjoy it, so it's not that bad. Yeah, I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it.
Well, you keep busy. You keep busy a lot.
I do. And honestly, ask my wife. I get restless if I'm not busy. So,
okay.
She likes when I had my surgery and we weren't able to do anything. She'd be like, "Get in the car. We're going for a walk or a ride." It's because I just start bouncing around and I get very anxious.
Now, you guys are very athletic too, right? I mean, you guys do a lot of stuff.
We try to
be.
Yep.
Okay.
We got the gym down here. She likes to do her warm up 1 mile, 1.5 mile run, and then she.
Oh, that's a warm up, huh?
Yeah, that's
a whole damn workout for me.
She got up, dropped the kids off at NFA, and now she's at the boxing gym. So.
Wow, yeah, a whole workout for me is getting up, going to the concession stand, and going back with a hot dog, watching the game. I'm good. Got my walking in.
Yeah.
Have you been to some of these stadiums? It's a long walk.
Oh, I lose my breath going up. That's why we started working out.
Sometimes to the end of the row because the guy's there. Hot dog here.
Yeah.
Hot dog here. All right. We have a guest this morning. It's Mike Alberts, who is the brand new president and CEO of the Jewett City Savings Bank. Hello, Mike.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you? Thanks for coming on in.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. We're doing great.
So how did this journey with the Jewett City Savings Bank start? Now, let's go back a little bit, before the Jewett City Savings Bank. So you actually had a life.
I actually have had a life, yes.
Before the Jewett City Savings Bank.
Yes.
And so you were a state rep for a while. And why don't you give us a little bit of background?
Sure. So I have about 35 years in banking and finance. So I actually started my banking career after I got out of the Air Force as an air traffic control officer. So I went from something less stressful to becoming bank CEO. Did graduate school after I got out of the Air Force and went into banking and have had a number of different positions in large banks like Fleet Bank, but also smaller banks like Simsbury Bank and what Savings Institute used to be. And then I joined Jewett City Savings Bank a little over 6 years ago as the senior commercial loan officer. So I've been at the bank for a bit over 6 years.
Wow.
So has it been that long, really?
It's gone by like nothing. It's been amazing how quickly the time has flown by.
Yeah, that's longer than I thought. I thought, honestly, no joke, I thought you were in there for 3-4 years.
I know it does seem like that. It's been very, very busy. I mean, we've grown the commercial lending area from probably about $60 million in commercial loans. Right now, we're about $160 million in commercial loans at our bank. And of course, our bank is a mutually owned savings bank. So we're owned by the depositors. We're not owned by stockholders. So we remain very independent. We're going to continue down that path. In a couple of years, we'll be celebrating 150 years.
Wow, 150 years.
Now, you said less stressful from the Air Force traffic control officer to a savings bank?
It is, it actually is less stressful. Air traffic control was more stressful.
I was going to say,
It was
that's
more
you. Like,
stressful, yeah.
isn't that considered the most stressful job in the world?
It was, it was a lot of fun because we had.
Go there, go, stop, go.
Well, I had military aircraft and civilian aircraft that we were responsible for, and I had a control tower and radar approach control. I was the chief of air traffic control at my base, and I was fully qualified as well. So I was in a position to pull shift, and I had to be able to do that.
Yeah, did you fly as well, or
We
were you a
did.
pilot, or?
No, I wasn't trained as a pilot. I did some supplemental ops evaluations, so I would do those from the air, but I wasn't qualified as a pilot, and I've often thought about getting my pilot's license, but that's an ongoing discussion between Mrs. Alberts and myself right now.
So I always wanted to fly a plane. I just think it would be kind of like fun. A helicopter, actually.
Helicopters are very complicated and very expensive, and actually getting your pilot's license is not inexpensive. I've been at the controls of civilian aircraft, with someone who's licensed, and it is a blast to fly. But it's a commitment. You've got to, maintain your proficiency, and you've got to figure out how are you going to do that? Are you going to rent a plane? Are you going to jointly own a plane, part of an aviation club, for example? And there's a lot to it.
Mm-hmm. So what else do you do, like, for hobbies and stuff like that? So instead of saying, like, you want to go ahead and get your license, but your wife says,
yeah, we do a lot of hiking. We do a lot of walking. I've made it a goal, and my wife and I have made a goal to travel a fair amount. So we've been out to the national parks. We were out in Utah this summer. And we have some, goal of going overseas when the pandemic seems to lift a little bit, and they'll let us into Scotland and England. We want to go over there and see some of the places where my ancestors came from. So that's part of the goal. But
are you Scottish? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The Scottish. My grandmother was born in Nova Scotia, and her family emigrated over from Scotland. So.
From Scotland to Nova Scotia? Really?
Yeah. Well, Nova Scotia means New Scotland. That's the translation. Yeah.
You ever been to Nova Scotia? I've been to Halifax.
Never been up out of the country, honestly, except for the Bahamas, Bermuda, down that area.
Gotcha. Well, it's kind of out. It's like out the front door,
nice.
on the steps, not going anywhere.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
I've always had a.
Halifax
speaking of flying, I never wanted to fly. That was my one.
You've never been on a plane?
Oh, I have been on a lot of planes, but usually I get popped a couple Xanax and a few whiskeys, and I'm good to go. The helicopters, like I flew in the Blackhawks with the dog team and had no problem. I loved it. It was the best thing in the world. Put me in a plane, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think people feel more secure in a helicopter because you tend to be the survival rate if you're in an accident is much better in a helicopter.
It's less slow.
It is.
Why is it easy to jump?
Well, they auto rotate, so you have you have some
Constant
safety
movement.
features. Yep.
Yeah, constant movement. And
Planes
propulsion and stuff.
when they crash, they generally crash because the engine has failed, and
Goes straight down.
yeah, that's not
Great.
good. That's not good.
Yeah. I'll think of that next time I board a JetBlue.
But we're actually talking about going on a cruise next year or something with a couple of friends. One of our buddies retired from corrections, and Kathy's best friend and stuff. And so we're talking about going on a nice cruise for a week or so.
You're bringing
for
back some really bad memories for me right now.
Which, corrections or a cruise?
No corrections I have not yet to experience. But
You don't really want to experience that.
no,
do you?
no. No, it's funny because the whole Nova Scotia thing and a cruise. I went on a cruise to Nova Scotia, and it was fun. And we got off at Halifax, and one of the things that they said when we got there, well, you can do one of two things. There's a tour of Halifax, which is a weird town. It's on a hill.
Yep.
And it's a pretty steep hill too. Or you could do what they call a scavenger hunt.
Oh.
And these are the activities that they had planned. So we said, we want to go on the tour. So we went on the tour, and we went into this big park that they had in Halifax, and the ducks and the geese, they just come right up to you. And then they nuzzle, they nuzzle up to you. It's like they're so used to it, people being there. But the here's where the bad part comes in is the last part of the tour. They brought us to a cemetery where people were buried from the Titanic.
Oh, no kidding.
That's right.
Right. And there were Rose, the main character in the movie. She was on that, but it wasn't Jack and Rose. Jack was an engine worker, and his name really wasn't Jack. And but movies are movies.
They romanticized it.
Exactly. Oh, very much so. But and Rose's name wasn't even Rose. The reason why they called her Rose is because I guess she was like the most popular, person, or because she made it for a while, and then when she passed away, they buried her there. But all the residents on her birthday bring roses, put it on her grave, and the guy who ran the tour said that it's nice, but it's a pain because there are literally hundreds and hundreds of roses every single year.
You have to go clean them up and everything.
Exactly. So, of course, I have to be a smart ass. And they said, anybody have any questions? And I said, yeah, I'm like little Johnny from the back of the room. And I just said, well, what I don't understand is why are we on a tour of people that we're on a cruise, and we're here looking at people that died on a cruise. The guy was like,
silence.
Yeah, good point. Crickets, so. But it really was. I was like, I don't know if somebody made that mistake, or they shouldn't be. I don't know if they ever did that again. What's the matter? You're looking perplexed at your phone.
No, I'm good.
Oh, it's your wife.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's on the air, and she's like, "Hey, baby, come home." I'm sweaty from the gym. What was that close?
No, not this.
Bring milk.
Yeah.
That's the kind of text I get. Yesterday was get Cool Whip. Because
ice cream.
Melissa made this really nice
pie,
like a chocolate
dessert thing.
Yeah, with cherries on the top. It was like a cherries jubilee without the jubilee, but it was really good.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
So anyway, let's get back to
where is it?
Huh?
Where is it?
Probably partly in his stomach.
It's gone, man. It's gone. I needed a treat, after yesterday was a long day and coaching.
Yeah, how was that?
Hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah, my back is killing me today because I'm so out of shape. I really am. Now you're pretty much in shape. So
we've been working on it for a while. Yeah. Well, I think as you get older, you get more of an appreciation of the fact that we're all mortal, and you got one body, you got to take care of it. So
that's what happened with me after all my surgeries and everything. I was like, that's enough. I have to not fool around anymore. I get back into taking care of myself. Yeah.
Now you said you go hiking. Where do you have favorite places that you go hiking, and how long do you hike for? I mean, how many miles do you go for?
So we hike or kayak. So we live in Woodstock. So a favorite destination for us is Roseland Lake. So we have kayaks there. So we usually go out kayaking for an hour and a half. We try to go out probably 4 or 5 times, summer. And hiking, we go to any trails that we can find, usually Massachusetts. But we've also done local trails. We've done the airline trail and
What's the airline trail?
So that is a trail that it's a huge trail. Basically, it runs from Putnam out west. You can go out to Willimantic and further west than that. We hike the Putnam River Trail a lot. That's about 3.5 miles.
I think it goes to Colchester, right?
I think it does go out to Colchester. Yeah, so it's in segments.
Far of a walk for me.
But a lot of these trails, Mike, they're discontinued railroad beds, and so they've been converted through our tax dollars. They've been converted into really nice, trails to walk or bike. And we haven't biked much this year, but we like to bike too. But I think the goal for us is just to stay in motion, because that's what you have to do. When you stop moving, that's not good.
That is the tough part. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Than stopping and getting back into it. That's one of the.
A lot of people swim,
Yeah.
and that's very good. I mean, very low impact, but
Mhm.
we're not doing that right now. We're not part of a Y.
You do Mount Washington and everywhere out there. Bear Mountain.
I've done Mount Washington a long time ago,
Okay.
but yeah, that's a little too much for me
Mhm.
right now. So
I'm already being mocked, and it said, "Let me speak for Melissa." It was Black Forest cake with cherries.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent.
so
There
I'm
you
already
go.
being. Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate that. So, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, and it's a tough one, but I'm sure you could handle it. You were taking over from a gentleman that had been at the helm for about 14 years, spent
Yes.
40 years at the Jewett City Savings Bank.
Mm,
Kevin Merchant, very, very popular.
yes,
Very popular, very much involved in the community.
Mhm.
I know for a fact, and I know too, that this guy was all over the place.
Right.
He'd have a chamber meeting here one night, sometimes 2 chamber meetings in a day, and he'd just be
yes,
be everywhere. So now here comes Mike Alberts, who's been there 6 years now and doing commercial loans and everything. How do those are tough shoes to fill.
They are. I have a lot of experience in the banking community throughout Eastern Connecticut. So I've had responsibility at one time or another for pretty much all of east of the river
Mhm.
and different banks on the commercial side and the retail side. So I go and attend a lot of chamber events. I've participated in Griswold Business Association dinners. I was last week in the Ocean County Chamber of Commerce meeting, which was in Pawcatuck. I'm a regular and up in northeastern Connecticut because that was where my state rep territory was, 5 towns.
Sure. Yeah.
So that makes sense. And Woodstock being my hometown. So I'm actually pretty well known throughout the region. But you're right, Kevin, over a 40-year career had that opportunity
right.
to be here. And he was a Norwich native. I was born outside of the region and brought in to enlarge the gene pool, I like to say. But it's true. We each have our backgrounds and strengths, and it's big shoes to fill. Kevin is really well known and
he's
respected.
been there for so many years, and he's enjoying his retirement now, I'm assuming.
He hasn't called me wanting his job back. So.
No,
not yet.
No.
Not yet. But the week's still young. His last day was last Tuesday, a week ago.
Yeah.
So maybe at the 2-week mark, he'll say, "Geez, I kind of miss it."
You guys need tellers?
I think we're in good shape right now.
Good shape
I think
right
we're
now?
in good shape. Yeah, that would not fully utilize Kevin's skills.
No. He's
What's the difference between Jewett City Savings Bank and any other bank?
So one of the big differences is the ownership structure of the bank. So we are, as I mentioned, mutually owned. So we are owned by our depositors. We're not a stock bank. So if you were to look at a bank like what the Savings Institute was, what it is now under Berkshire Bank, or Citizens Bank or Bank of America, those banks are owned by stockholders. And what we've learned over time is that sometimes those stock-owned banks make decisions which are advantageous to the stockholders, but aren't necessarily advantageous to the communities that they serve. So we have really dual missions. We have a mission to serve well the communities that we operate in. And that's why you see the Jewett City Savings Bank Foundation. You see us making contributions to a lot of nonprofits through the foundation, a lot of sponsorships that we do, and we support our fire departments.
Yeah, actually, you made a great donation to the fire department up in Jewett City. So
and
that was great.
Yeah, and we try to do those things because those are very meaningful to us, and that's what our board of directors wants to continue. So one of the thoughts that some people had is because I've got a strong background in commercial lending, are we going to change the focus of the bank? Are we going to go in a different direction? And the answer is no. We're not changing the structure of our mutual ownership. We're committed to that. That's worked extremely well for the bank. And we want to continue to be that bank that takes its profits and make sure that we reinvest in our community.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And but I'll do some things differently than Kevin. You know, I know he, was often seen, roaming the borough in a St. Louis Cardinals cap. I probably won't be wearing that same cap.
Red Sox.
I'm a big Red Sox fan, yeah. But
it's funny. It's funny because I used to tease Merch all the time. I said, "You're bank president wearing a Cardinals cap." I said, and I would look at him and I would just finally went, "How cool is this?"
Yeah.
But did you see what he got for one of his presents? For
I couldn't stick around for the whole night.
No, this was over here across the street.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
missed that. Yeah.
He had a personal message from Adam Wainwright of the St. Louis Cardinals.
That must have tickled him.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
That probably made his day.
He lost his mind.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. It was like, look, his wife Lori comes over. She goes, "Mike, it's Adam freaking Wainwright."
Well, yeah, screen in there doing a little presentation on the TV.
Well, what he did is he sent a message personal to Kevin.
Wow.
So anyway, it was pretty cool, and that's what I meant. By I said, you've got big shoes to fill, not just from a business sense, from a visibility sense. You said, people know you and
Absolutely.
they're familiar with you, but then there's that people. I mean, I don't know how many people around here know you like from a popularity sense. He was a very, very popular guy. And stuff like that.
Well, when you give away money too, that also helps with your popularity. So, so I expect that the bank is going to continue its strong track record of sponsorships, and we're going to do that. In fact, yesterday we were debating something internally, for sponsorship. So, I have a good sense of that, and I think as the bank continues to prosper, we're going to be in a better position to make some of those contributions. So. Over the course of many years, we've contributed a lot of money to the Jewett City Savings Bank Foundation, and local nonprofits had until the end of August to put in for potential grants.
So, what specifically is the Jewett City?
The Savings Bank Foundation.
So
too many words for me.
Yeah, so we set up a foundation a number of years ago, and we haven't invested $2 million yet, but we're approaching that figure. And we've invested it. It's been invested in investments that have allowed the bank to take the gain on those investments and to provide it to nonprofits throughout the communities we serve. So that's provided the juice, so to speak, for many of the gifts that we make for the fire departments, the ambulance services, and other nonprofits. And we also have other sponsorships that we do outside of the foundation. So, as the bank does better financially, and we're actually having a very good year this year, we hope to be able to continue that legacy and keep doing it.
Right.
So our prosperity is definitely linked to communities. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. So
nice.
Well, I'm really glad that you have that frame of mind as well. Because the community needs Jewett City Savings Bank very much. And when you say basically we're going to keep the direction. And of course you're going to have new ideas and you're going to have different things.
Absolutely.
And that's, whenever management changes, that's always going to happen. But I think it's really great that, that you're going to keep the same direction or whatever, and that you're championing that. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
How do you think your background as a representative, Air Force, how did that contribute to you gaining the position you have now?
Well, I think the background as state representative has helped a lot because I do know a lot of people in banking across the state. So it was just by being in a position where I was the ranking member of the banks committee, and so I have a lot of connections, a lot of contacts. We do a lot of banking, actually working with other banks. Yesterday, my senior loan officer, our senior credit officer, and myself. We're actually meeting with representatives from another savings bank, and we're talking about doing participations together. So our legal lending limit is about $8 million. So we can do a single loan of about $8 million. Oh, it's a lot, yeah. But we actually do loans larger.
You take a
than
check.
that.
Yeah.
We do loans that are larger than that, Rich. So we've worked together and had loans. I think our largest loan is about $16.5 million, where we retained a little over $6 million, and several other banks did their underwriting and said, this is a good loan. We want to fund it to $2 million or $3 million. So we do that all the time. And that helps us.
I don't think people realize that it's when somebody goes to the Jewett City Savings Bank or another bank or whatever, you join in, or
we join in on their
banks?
Loans. Yes, so we actually now are working on a project near New Haven with this bank, and we will soon be working on a financing initiative in Bolton, Connecticut, and another bank in the Windsor area is going to be assisting us with that. So we have great capacity. So I think my banking background and my experience in the legislature has taught me a lot about trying to reach fair and equitable treatment for folks, and so that's really a lot of negotiating that I've done over the years, and that's how you thrive in Hartford in the state legislature, is being a good negotiator.
Did you find your military experience helped you in any way? I'm trying to explain this to my son.
No, I think the military experience is because I think anyone that is in the military, and I was an officer, so I was commissioned as a second lieutenant the day I graduated from UConn. But I think that military experience really allows you to see all the things that you can do, because you're really thrown into situations that are unusual, and sometimes no one has ever seen them before. I still remember, and the day that I was certified in the control tower in the last position, and I remember seeing a situation where I had never seen it before, and the person who was evaluating me had never seen it. I was directing all these F4s that were flying at my base, and they were coming in. Two were coming in. One was going to do a full stop landing. The other was doing a touch and go. And the F4s, when they were doing a full stop landing, they actually had a parachute in the back of it to slow it down. So the aircraft that was doing the full stop had this parachute that came out, but the parachute didn't fully open up. It started flapping. And there's no phraseology, FAA phraseology for situations like that. So, I just referenced, F4 on south side of runway, go around, you have a streamer. So he understood that a streamer was that parachute. So he had to go around the pattern, and he had to set up much earlier on the runway because he wasn't going to have his parachute. But if he had stayed with what he was doing, he was never going to stop on the runway. So those are the types of unusual situations. So I think the military does a really good job of preparing people to take on more responsibility.
That's why I was a big believer in. You graduate high school, you go right into some kind of community service or some kind of military, or you don't need to go to college right away. You don't need to do all this stuff right away. Go get this. Go get this. What do you call it? Some kind of leadership experience, life experience, community experience. Go out and serve in the military.
When you start doing this, you get a combination.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think get a combination.
I think there's great opportunities out there.
And you don't have to be a grunt. You don't have to get a guy on there holding the rifle in a hole somewhere. You could, be a traffic controller. Just get the experience.
I went through basic training. I had my marksmanship training. I had survival training. We had all of that, but I wasn't going to be on the front line with an M16 in my hand. So.
Me either. They didn't do that in radio training,
But I was qualified. I was qualified if necessary. Yes.
Of course, my the way my brain works, which is a little odd compared to most. When you were giving us the story right there about being an air traffic controller and the streamer and how the parachutes, and all I could think of. Do you ever see the movie Airplane?
Yes.
Okay. All I could figure is you standing there with the beverage going, somebody and Rich coming up going, Shirley, you can't be kidding. I am, and stop calling me Shirley.
I think I've heard that once or twice before.
Yeah, the doll next to you working on it too.
We're not going down the doll scene.
No. That's a totally different thing.
That's the X-rated version of the morning show.
Oh my God! I particularly like the elderly woman. She goes, excuse me, I can help you. I speak jive. I don't know. Sorry about the coughing there, but what about expansion? You know, as
Well,
far as the bank, because really the bank has expanded to seven branches.
We have 7 branches. right.
Pawcatuck and Putnam lately.
Yes.
You know, of course, and I'm assuming that's why you were down at Ocean State Chamber of
We were
Commerce.
down there. That was actually being hosted in
Yeah.
our Pawcatuck branch.
Because the Pawcatuck branch or Pawcatuck or whatever just got voted best bank.
Yes, we
down
are the
that
best,
way, so-
yes, by the through the Westerly Sun recognized us as being the best bank in the community, and we've received a lot of recognition in the different areas we've served. So Putnam is our most recent addition. It's interesting. Some of our strongest loan growth is in those 2 branches,
Wow.
both Pawcatuck and Putnam, and we have really developed a good following. So.
Mhm.
Our assets are at an all-time high right now. We're about as big as as we've ever been. I think about $390 million right now. That does change month to month.
Sure.
We've got a very, very strong capital base. Again, it's because we're mutually owned. We don't have to pay stockholders a dividend. If you think about it, our dividends, part of our earnings really go to the foundation, and they go into.
Right. And you can make decisions based on your customers and not the stockholders wanting their money.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all our decisions are right here, right
But-
next door. We're
So
making those
That
decisions.
brought my next question. Each individual, I don't know if you call it a branch.
It is
or-
a branch,
Okay. Would they all have their own board of directors and
No, we
owners,
have-
or
No, we have the good question. We have one board of directors, and the board of directors have a lot of experience. Many of them are business owners. Our chairman, Lou D'Amico of Jewett City Greenhouse, certainly has much experience as a business owner. And we've got other folks that, are in charge of nonprofit agencies. They're entrepreneurs, or they might be in financial planning. They might be a lawyer. Our vice chairman, Gary Peliquin, is a CPA. So they all bring different strengths to the table, and they assist us in our lending decisions, and also, to evaluate the opportunities to grow. So I do think that with my background, I'm well suited to assist the bank in that. And I think that's one of the strengths I bring to the table is I have, some
Sure.
experience there that probably Kevin didn't have, but, just different.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, different is good. And especially, at some point there's going to be a change. I mean, there was,
inevitable.
there's going to be a change to, the office of the president. There are a lot of changes that are going, with the Jewett City Savings Bank, and people can say, well, I don't know about that. Well, you can know about this, and it's a positive thing. People move on. People.
He was
going to
retire. He does want to retire.
Oh my God, he did. Yeah,
how long was he president?
He was president for 14 years.
That's long.
he was with the
enough.
bank for 40.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
long
it's-
enough. That's-
But then even look at Lou D'Amico.
Yeah.
That position is going to change because
It will.
he's going to be retiring off of the board. Is it February, March?
He'll be retiring in March.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So there's going to be a change to that. So it's going to be fresh, I guess you could say.
It'll be refreshed.
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 With different outlooks and different ideas, and
Mhm.
it seems to me it's like different ideas of the same thing.
Same core values.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, we are again committed to the communities we serve, and every day I wake up and I'm reminded that we are here for a reason, and we can't be all things to all people, but we can help many, many nonprofits, and we do it in a number of ways. I mean, obviously we support nonprofits, but we also lend to nonprofits. We waive fees, provide very generous financing rates for nonprofits. We've actually provided financing for some of the communities themselves, the towns, when they get into a situation where they have a short-term cash need. So we do it all.
Did you say you waive fees?
We have done that, yes.
Can we talk about this overdraft thing?
We take it all in consideration, Mike.
Oh,
All
now
in
it's a
consideration.
consideration. Oh.
It's that fine print, Mike. Did you see that asterisk?
No, I didn't see that.
You gotta look at the bottom with that.
We all see it. We all see it until it affects us. Then
Right.
we don't see it.
Exactly.
So
I know how it works.
anything that you want to say on the bank's behalf or anything like that?
No,
First of all,
we're
welcome to
excited.
the community as
Well, thank
as the new president and CEO of the Jewett City Savings Bank.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful organization. I've said to Kevin Merchant many, many times, in the past, and I'm going to say it to you too. Without the Jewett City Savings Bank, there is no SNSN.
Thank you.
And that's just fact. You know, I mean, I started this, well, that's another story. But the Jewett City Savings Bank has been there for us since day one. And we certainly appreciate it. And we have tried to follow a lot of what you guys do, serve the community. And I think that we've done that, especially with sports and everything, and trying to bring that, this is not about me, but you can see right on our thing right here from the Jewett City Savings Bank studios. So
right. We're a great team. So it's not just me. The team is there. We have some fantastic leaders. Senior management team is great. And, we're going to continue those things. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. And we're going to be here for many more years to come.
All right.
Excellent.
All right. Mike Alberts, the new president and CEO of the Jewett City Savings Bank. Thank you for coming on over.
My pleasure. And Mike, I promise I won't be a stranger.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
And no eviction notices.
No eviction notices. And remember just to get that rent to us in time, and we're good to go. And that overdraft thing.
Yeah. I'll write you. I'll send you an email.
Don't give me a check.
That would be a problem, wouldn't it? That's contradictory. All right. Thank you very much, Mike. We'll talk to you real soon.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming on in.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
All right.
Thanks,
Mike Alberts from the Jewett City Savings Bank. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, Rich and I, right here on SNSN.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. There's a debate raging over whether Americans fully vaccinated against COVID-19 will need a booster shot. While the White House is pushing the idea, there is division within the FDA. In Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis standing strong against vaccine mandates.
If a government agency in the state of Florida forces a vaccine as a condition to employment, that violates Florida law.
DeSantis threatening local governments with $5,000 fines per violation. Secretary of State Blinken has a date today with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. The topic, Afghanistan. Yesterday's session before the House Foreign Affairs Committee got a bit heated. Republican and Afghan war veteran Brian Mast mixing it up with Blinken and the committee chairman, Democrat Gregory Meeks.
I don't wish to hear your lies.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Yes, the
secretary can answer the question.
I didn't ask him a question.
Yes, you did ask a question.
I don't want to hear from the secretary.
The gentleman's time
lies to
has
us when he
expired.
steps in front of the camera.
We're here to hear from the secretary.
Not to hear lies.
After roaring ashore in Texas as a hurricane, Nicholas, now a tropical storm, dumping rain, posing serious flooding threats to parts of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. The National Weather Service's Kent Prohaska says there is damage.
Multiple trees down all along in these coastal counties. We've had some gas stations with the awnings have been blown over. Some roofs have lost some the metal sheeting on some of the smaller buildings next to it. And extensive power outages from all of the wind.
Californians go to the polls today deciding whether to boot Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom from office in favor of Republican Larry Elder or any of the other 40-plus candidates. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures down 46 points, NASDAQ futures off 24. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discounted to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
The United States has killed Osama bin Laden.
Hours after that announcement, the White House leaked that it was SEAL Team 6 that carried out the operation. Al-Qaeda placed bounties on the heads of all Navy SEALs. Then just 3 months later, a U.S. Army helicopter carrying many from SEAL Team 6 and others.
Anybody out there, we have a fallen angel. Fallen angel, roger.
Fallen Angel, Extortion 17. The story most Americans don't know. Watch exclusively at salemnow.com.
A new global survey documents high anxiety among young people over climate change. A majority of those polled say they're very or extremely worried about it.
This survey, led by the University of Bath, claims to be the biggest on young people's thoughts and feelings about climate change. It says more than 45% of those questioned said the way they felt about the climate affected their daily lives. 2/3 reported feeling sad, anxious and afraid. Some felt hope, but more felt fear, anger, despair, grief, and even shame. The survey suggests that 4 out of 10 are hesitant to have children because of climate change.
The BBC's Roger Harriman. Russian President Putin going into self-quarantine because of coronavirus cases in his inner circle. The Kremlin says that Putin himself has tested negative for COVID-19 and is fully vaccinated. News and analysis at townhall.com. Organizers of an upcoming rally on the National Mall insisted will be a peaceful gathering, but authorities in D.C. are preparing for the worst.
Taking no chances, Capitol Police and other law enforcement officials are ramping up security measures ahead of Saturday's rally in Washington to support the rioters who stormed the Capitol earlier this year. Capitol Police have installed temporary high-tech security cameras to allow them a vaster view of the Capitol complex. A Capitol Security Board on Monday approved a plan to reinstall a 7-foot fence around the main Capitol building, which had stood for months after January's violent assault. The board has also issued an emergency declaration, which will allow Capitol Police to deputize outside law enforcement as special Capitol Police officers on Saturday. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
House Democrats have taken the wraps off a sweeping tax hike plan affecting individuals and businesses to fund President Biden's $3.5 trillion spending proposal. Again, on Wall Street this hour, Dow futures are down 56 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Local news, sports, and weather. SNSN.
Here's a look at your local weather forecast on SNSN. We can expect mostly sunny skies for Tuesday. Temperatures right around 76 degrees and a little bit of a wind out of the south, 5 to 7 miles per hour. Tonight, 30% chance of showers and maybe a thunderstorm. Mostly cloudy skies. Otherwise, temperatures dipping down to about 63. And for Wednesday, a 30% chance of showers and also a thunderstorm sometime in the morning. Partly sunny skies otherwise. Temperatures right around 83 degrees.
Family owned and operated. That's something you don't hear too often anymore. Highway Campers of Plainfield is now 3 generations in and going strong. If you're looking to upgrade or get your first RV, contact the family that knows RVs, Highway Campers. They'll walk you through the process of finding the right RV for you and can even finance it for you. Visit www.highwaycampers.com and find your home on wheels. After all, home is where you park it. Highway Campers is a proud supporter of Griswold Youth Football.
You buy better. Better with Burns. Much better. So much better with Burns. The right insurance at the right price. You buy better with Burns. You buy better with Burns. You buy better.
Hurricane season is upon us. Did you know insurance companies can issue moratoriums that prevent you from securing coverage when there's an impending storm? Homeowners, business owners, property owners, act now. Don't let your coverage leave you out in the rain. The licensed professionals at the Burns Agency are here to help. Call, email, or chat with us online today. Don't let the next natural disaster become an insurance disaster. The Burns Agency, proudly serving Eastern Connecticut since 1932.
Better. Better with Burns. Much better. So much better with Burns. The right insurance at the right price. You buy better with Burns. You buy better with Burns. You buy better.
The home of Griswold Wolverine Sports, SNSN.
And yes, we are the home of Griswold Wolverine Sports. Mainly, right now we're doing football. We're doing Griswold Youth Football, as well as Griswold High School football. Boy, Griswold High School got walloped.
I saw their quarterback took a hit.
Yeah. Luke Cassidy, who's brand new, he's a freshman, and he won the starting quarterback job with the Wolverines or Wolverines. Well, it's Griswold Wheeler because they have a co-op.
Yeah. We were wondering about that.
Yeah. There's only a few kids that come up from Wheeler, but still, it's still Griswold and Wheeler. Mm-hmm. And he took a hit, and he was on the ground for, I would say, a good 15 minutes. And when I say that the place went silent,
Really?
Because this young man wasn't moving. And when you're in the crowd and you see a young man with his arms down to his side, laying on his stomach and not moving.
So he was out.
He was out.
Wow.
He was out. Then we started to see his foot starting to move a little bit. So then I was like, okay. And the American ambulance came, took him away to the hospital. And I was in communication with his dad, Jeff Cassidy, who owns McGuire Plumbing.
Oh, okay.
And he said that hopefully it's just what they call a stinger.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what a stinger is, or if you can't?
No,
I know you're.
No, not 100%. No, I imagine he's talking about just the brain takes a little bit of a hit, knocks you out for a few seconds, maybe comes back. I'm just guessing, but it sounds like something like that.
Yeah, and he was there. They went there. I guess they're through some testing, I suppose, is what they do. And he went home, and Jeff said, "Yep, he's going to be sore."
Wow, yeah.
But you're talking to a 14-year-old kid. Taking a whack like that
sounds like a hell of a hit. I mean, it knock you out, and
well, it was a tough game, not just for the quarterback, but there were, I think it was about 6 injuries.
Wow.
To Griswold players. They even canceled the JV game the next morning.
No, they don't have a lot of JV. They all participate in varsity also, you think?
No. But they had so many kids that got hurt. They just said,
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a brutal way to start the season for the Griswold Wolverines. They lost 50-6. Yeah. Now, when you're up by more than 35 points, if a team is up by more than 35 points, you know how like Little League and stuff, like they have like the mercy rule, like after so many innings, if you're, they do it in high school too.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of do it in football in a different way. What happens is the clock just runs.
Okay.
So it'll start at 12 minutes and it'll just keep going and going and going. It will not stop unless there's an injury or a touchdown. Doesn't matter. Incomplete pass, it keeps going.
Oh.
Out to the sidelines, it just keeps going. So in other words, number one, it makes it tougher for a team to go ahead and come back.
Yep.
But then again, when you're down 50-0 at that point,
time though.
It's like, all right, it's time to go home, So,
well, hopefully they pull it back.
So this week,
and they just have an inexperienced team right now. Is that what it is?
I think they have a young team.
Yeah,
they do. Wilcox has a different cocktail every year. He's got to try to figure out him and his coaches like Aubin, and it's a rough game. It's a rough game. So this week they have the Stonington Bears at home. So it'll be Griswold and Stonington. The game will start at 6:30, and we will go live at about 6:20, which you can listen to on SNSN, the app, or online, or you can watch the game either on, pretty much on all of our social media platforms, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or whatever. But you'll be able to watch the game as well. We're going to be carrying all 10 games.
Wow.
So there's that. Then there's also Griswold Youth Football that we've been carrying, and that's a lot of fun.
It's interesting.
We carry 3 games in one day, and it's a long day.
6 hours or so, right?
Yeah, it's closer to
more.
8.
Yeah,
it's closer to 8. And then they start one right after another. There's really no downtime. So the micros play, and then boom, here come the juniors, and then the seniors. So, and I gotta say the game with the seniors was probably 2 weeks ago, because we did the home game, was as exciting as any football game that I've really ever watched, because they were playing Tolland, and the game was it was a tie, 6-6, and Griswold won in overtime. But just the way they did it and the style they did it, it was just very exciting.
Oh, good.
Crowd was into it. So if you ever thought, these kids are like 12, 13, 14, how the hell am I going to be interested in that? If you like football, if you're a football fan, watch it. First of all, when you're watching the game, you don't realize these kids are 12, 13, 14 years old.
Big kids too?
Some of them, there's some meat on that line. Let me tell you, there's some beef out there.
There's a lot of kids playing now because I heard football and some other sports took a hit when like lacrosse came in and all these other sports took up.
I don't know if football so much took a hit, but I know baseball did.
Baseball took a huge hit. I know that.
Little League took a hit.
Yeah.
You know, with the amount of kids.
You know, with Montville, they shut down one whole league.
Yeah, and there are a lot of towns that are combining with other towns just to field a team. For example, I'm coaching a fall ball team, right? So our first game was supposed to be last Saturday, but because of weather and really we only had 8 kids at the time, we couldn't really field a team.
Wow.
So, and plus we hadn't had a practice yet. So the team we were playing was a combination of towns, was Sprague, Franklin, and Canterbury, SFC. And actually they have 2 teams, SFC 1 and SFC 2.
Wow.
So, we weren't able to carry that game, or we weren't there, to play that game because we just hadn't practiced. So we had a good full practice last night.
Oh, good.
Which was good.
Yeah.
My back is killing me. But you know what? We had a good time with the kids. It was a lot of fun.
Didn't feel like fall either, though.
No. The only thing that felt like fall was the fact that it was getting darker earlier.
Yep.
So around 10 after 7, quarter after 7, it was starting to get dark.
Where do you guys practice at?
At the high school.
Okay.
Yep. Steve Cravino gave us access to the high school field. So it needs to be mowed bad. But so talking about a slow infield, he hit a grounder. It goes 9 feet
Lost
and
the ball.
stopped. We did. We lost a couple, I think. We did. So, but we're playing Plainfield this weekend. So Saturday we're playing Plainfield. So we're not going to be broadcasting the game, but just our fall ball team.
Cool. Do something different for you too.
Yeah. And if you want to watch baseball, come down and watch it. It's fun. And these kids are good. We got we got a couple of the high school kids. We got Sean Garvin, who was a starting pitcher for the Grizzle High School Grizzle Wolverines, and he's on our team. And he's a hell of a pitcher, man. I'll tell you something. His dad, Chris, was the president of the league at one point. Sean can throw. This kid can throw.
Time it.
He's up around 80, 85 right now.
Really?
Yeah.
As a high school kid? Wow.
As a high school kid.
Wow.
And I guess he's got a coach, a pitching coach. And he said by the time he's not even a senior. He's a sophomore.
He's got a future then.
Yeah. And by the time he said he's a senior, he could be throwing almost 90.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what the hell? I think I've ever seen a high school kid throwing 90 miles an hour.
That's pro level, right? That's
yeah. Anything 85 and up,
Mm-hmm.
But and he's got great accuracy and stuff. So we'll have to see what happens. He's not a big kid either, but you can definitely tell he's been working out.
Good.
So that's pretty exciting. So let's see. Joanne says good morning. So good morning to you, Joanne. She's in the group this morning.
So if anybody's heard, I'd be interested in finding out what happened at that meeting last night, and with the marijuana and the distribution in town.
Yeah, I'm gonna, guess who I'm gonna reach out to? I'm gonna reach out to Miranda again. I want to see if let's see if she's available or not.
Excellent.
There was a meeting last night. It was a public hearing that Planning and Zoning had last night, and it was regarding the possible moratorium of the laws or the ability to go ahead and put a marijuana establishment, within the town of Griswold.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one. They're allowed to put one because of the population. That's one thing.
When I read the law, that's what it was interesting when they brought up they could have, how many could they have this? But I believe I read that you could have one for so many square miles, or
it's population.
Yeah,
it's population. It's like 30,000, 25,000 people or something like that. So we do know that Grizzle can have one, per the general statutes.
But then to own one, that was a whole different ballgame. You almost had to.
You can have one grower, and
Yeah, the restrictions were incredible.
You have one grower,
and one
shower.
distributor. Yeah.
Wait. Okay, yeah.
And then they tested the quality and make sure it was the THC wasn't so high and at a certain level or something. But
right. So I don't know about that. I just know that they can have a grower.
Yeah.
And this is all with the general statutes. And they can have one store.
Yeah. Then I was talking with some other people. Some of the stats, the way the statute was written, was almost like it was designed for specific people to be able to do it.
Well, I know that it's rough for Joe Schmo to do it.
Right.
Good morning, Miranda. Miranda, are you there?
Sounds like I can hear a car moving.
Hello. Miranda. No. No. We'll see. I'm gonna tell her that I answered. But she was at the meeting last night, so she can give us the heads up of what had happened. At the what happened with the possible moratorium, which basically the way Miranda explained it yesterday, it was basically it's like hitting the pause button as far as what happens. What happens with people, being able to open up a store.
Sure.
Let's see. Hold on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
There she is.
I'm here. I'm back.
Well, you are the perfect correspondent, to all things. Well, just all things.
I am all things.
You are all things. So, did you attend the meeting last night?
I did.
And I was wondering if you could kind of give us an update of what happened and what kind of things that they spoke on last night regarding the moratorium.
Sure. So our town attorney attended the public hearing and provided some guidance to the Planning and Zoning Committee. And he did recommend a moratorium, just not that a decision would be made to ban or allow, but to hit the pause button to take your time to decide that, or decide regulations if they do want to allow it. Because at this time, anybody could just come in and apply even today, and there would be no regulations in place in town to establish that, a cannabis retail or grow organization. So what they did last night was did adopt the moratorium. It will be for 1 year, and it does start today. And it will give the Planning and Zoning Committee some time to, discuss what they want to do, whether they want to look at a ban, whether they want to just regulate where and how a cannabis retail establishment would be, come to Griswold or Jewett City and take their time to do that. So they're not rushed into anything. It's a careful decision, and I think it's the right one. So I was very happy with the outcome.
So one thing that I was not aware of and is that Griswold can actually go ahead and say, no, we don't want it at all. Is that correct?
Griswold, yes. Planning and Zoning could say that. Absolutely. They would. Well, last night was the chance for the public to put their, 2 cents in, and honestly, nobody really attended. There was a couple of us in there, but so nobody really had a say, or nobody attended.
Well, no, part of the problem was that I didn't know about it. I'm running for it, and it wasn't put out to the public until you brought it up on your show yesterday. At least widely, so everybody could see it. That was part of the issue, I believe.
Yeah.
Not that I believe 100 people would have shown up anyway, but.
Well.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume if it was posted on the website. It was in the bulletin. They did read that. It was posted in the bulletin twice. I can think that's what they're expected to do. So
Yeah, it has
it was
to go
in
out
the
to print,
bulletin.
right? Yeah.
Well, I've got my thoughts on that. But
Delving
that's
me back to the
that's not
social media discussion months ago.
Yeah. I mean, putting it in bulletin. I don't know if that's important to talk about right now. My personal thoughts, but I did. Well, we put it out there yesterday, Miranda, and you and I had the conversation yesterday about all of this and what was, what could possibly happen and or whatever. So, I think it's a damn shame that people don't show up and people don't participate, because what happens is then people will complain and they'll say, "Well, what?"
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't want them to complain, but then again, if you don't show up and you don't do your due diligence and you don't ask questions and make comments, to maybe spur conversation with other people like planning and zoning or Grizzled Pride, or, to get more information, what are you going to do?
Right.
Right.
So
well, it's kind of like one of the best officers I've ever spoken to was one of my supervisors one time was, if you're not going to come and propose a solution, you're doing nothing but whining. So that's what I tell my kids. You're doing nothing but whining if you have no solution to the problem, and you're going to whine about it.
So we just had a comment, Miranda, in the chat room, and it said, "What is the bulletin?"
Miranda, what did they say at this meeting in particular? Were there any points that were made that different than what you talked about yesterday? Or?
No, nothing really. It was just that, it was just putting a pause button. There was nobody spoke pro or against. It was just like, wow, we got to get our ducks in a row. We got to see how the state is going to roll this out. And, we want to be able to they want to have a say in where and when and all those questions. And, before somebody just comes in and with a permit or applies for a permit saying that they want to open one, say right next door to the school, there's nothing in place yet that says that couldn't happen.
So the safe distance for schools wouldn't apply to it or anything like that? Or?
That's for alcohol right now. That there's nothing in the statutes for marijuana retail right now. So that's all up to the towns to develop these policies. And the way the state rolled it out was they didn't give time for the towns to do that. Like the state legalized it, and 2 weeks later on July 1st, we could have started having applications for these retail establishments. Granted, they wouldn't have went into effect until, I don't know, 2023. We're not sure yet, but they could start applying now. The businesses could start applying now.
But they cannot, correct?
Now with the moratorium, they cannot. There's a 1 year, a 12-month halt on any applications for that, to give the planning and zoning time to figure out what they want to do.
Has there been, did anybody apply?
No one's applied yet. Nope.
Okay.
And I can tell you, I know I did some more research after I spoke to you, Mike. There are so many towns, pretty much all town lawyers, attorneys are suggesting and recommending to towns to implement a moratorium just to figure things out first. So most towns will be going in this route. I know our town attorney works for many other Eastern Connecticut towns, and they're also in the works on implementing the moratoriums. Mansfield, Old Saybrook, us, and then a lot of other towns on the other part of the state are doing this as well. Have already done that.
So couldn't SCOG and NCOG get together and say, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to create a joint task force, per se, to create some kind of legislation ourselves to impact this?
I don't know that part of that. That's not my forte. I'm not sure.
I don't think the Council of Governments can do that. I think the Council of Governments basically is just really a group of people from surrounding towns that they make suggestion.
No, actually, they have a lot of power.
Do they really?
Yeah. Like we just had our emergency, because I'm the co-chair of an emergency task force for the Eastern Connecticut, and they decide how much money we actually get for training and supplies, and that we have to apply. And they're the ones that make the decision on grant money and how everything is decided. They're the ones that made a recommendation that everybody wear a mask everywhere.
I thought that came from the health department.
Well, I think the NCOG, SCOG got together and they pushed it to the health department, and then the health department's kind of, as far as I understand.
Well, I know that like CCOG or SCOG, they sent a letter over to Lamont saying, you know, we want a mask mandate for the entire state, and he said no, or anything like that. So I know they suggested Norwich ended up with one. So but anyway, that's a different subject. So where do we go from here, Miranda? Just basically, it's a 1 year starting today, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So we'll see. You know, they did request me to help them develop the regulations and policies that they do want to establish during this 12-month period. So I'll be able to work with them on that. And like I said yesterday, I'm not a prohibitionist. Grizzled Pride is not a prohibitionist. We're just we encourage responsible adult use, and we want to mitigate those risk factors that a retail establishment would bring. So if it's implemented correctly and safely, we're not going to deny it.
So off the top of your head, and I know you say no if you haven't had enough time to think about it, but what recommendations would you make right off the top of your head?
I think the location and the number of establishments that we would allow, because although the state is only allowing one for any town less than 25,000 people, that doesn't mean that won't change in the future. That's just for right now. So I think we really need to put a cap on the amount that we'd be willing to have if we go that route, and really think about the location of where we would want it.
Was there any talk about changing the name of the town to Stoneville? No? Too soon? Too soon?
Yeah.
Too soon on that? All right. I hear there's going to be a new breakfast restaurant opening up called Wake and Bake. No? Too soon? All right. I'm so sorry, Miranda. I'm so sorry. Strike me dead now.
All good, Mike. All good.
You know what I think is really cool though is, and this is definitely a plume in the cap of Grizzled Pride, is the fact that state or town organizations, state organizations are now looking for guidance from you and Grizzled Pride, to help make these decisions. So just to give you an idea, or anybody that's listening, of just how important Grizzled Pride is to our community.
Thank you, Mike. And I got to say too, we were recognized. So when the crisis program got passed, so when the bill that Brian Lanou submitted got passed and approved this year to expand the crisis program, the state police crisis program, part of that bill is to create a task force to study and evaluate the cost benefit of the expansion of this program up to Troop D. So it's a statewide task force, and they did appoint me, Grizzled Pride, to the task force for a state-run operation. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I think that is very, very exciting. What do you think, Rich? I mean,
No, I think it's great. My past experiences were limited with your task force. I don't know actually if we ever worked with your specific task force, but I know with the local fire department, we do get a lot of stuff from you guys, and so that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any idea about all these new drugs that are coming up north?
What do you mean?
As far as overdoses and stuff like that? Like having another run with it.
Yeah, I know I don't know if it's necessarily new. It's a lot of, we're seeing a lot of mixing of stuff too. So that is, I think, contributing to the overdoses. We're seeing, opioids and benzos, and we're seeing there's another one that's like I can't think of it right now. I'm driving, sorry, but there's another one that's like some kind of animal, medicine that's being mixed with opioids that's causing
it's not the carfentanil?
Well, carfentanil, yes, and there's another one as well out there. But we're seeing a lot of the multi-poly substance use, I guess. That's what we're seeing. So unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. The impact of the pandemic is still, compounding everybody's mental health and isolation. And if you are using, don't use alone. That's how most of the deaths are occurring that we're seeing, as that people are using alone and there's no one there to help or call 911 and administer Narcan. So,
Well, I know there was a lot of buddy use at one time. But so on my side of it, Mike, one question I was going to ask you was this is a great time, maybe.
Well, no, do you know who you're talking to, Miranda? It's Rich Waslick.
No, hello.
Hey, how are you? How you doing?
Rich, Miranda, Rich. Rich is with the fire department, and he has a lot of he works as a first responder, so in dispatcher.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I had basically was, now that we're pushing the Narcan, and this is a big change since when I started in '94 with EMS, with actually using Narcan as a BLS provider, was because usually the medics would titrate it through an IV. And it would keep them at a more easily controllable level because they were still at the desirable level that they wanted. But one of the biggest questions I have is we see them a lot of times coming out of the hospital before we even finish our paperwork. So would there be a more cost benefit on the other side of pushing them having to get treatment after they've overdosed?
Well, I know most of the hospitals locally now have recovery coaches that are offered to an overdose victim when they do come in, but it's not mandatory. It's not required that they speak to the recovery coach or even go to treatment after. So until that changes, those policies change, there's nothing that we can really do. I know, they're leaving with numbers. They're leaving with Narcan now. So that's another thing that's going on, is that the EDs are providing Narcan after an overdose as well.
That's great, but I mean, like you even mentioned, they can't give it to themselves. So
correct. That's why,
kind of like a catch-22. Here's your medicine. Give it to yourself when you're unconscious. It's like, so my question would be like, do you think there would be a benefit to forcing the rehab on them?
No, I don't think there'd be any benefit to that.
I don't think you can.
Unfortunately,
you can't
do that.
Yeah. I mean, you can't do that legally right now, but as you would know better than me on a mental side of it, on the rehab, they have to want the help first? Or?
I was saying you can't.
They do. They have to want to help.
Yeah, I don't think you can force rehab on anybody. If they don't want it, they don't want it.
Right, and I know you bring in someone that's ETOH or like drunk.
What's ETOH?
Ethanol, basically, but they're drunk. They're intoxicated to the point where they have to go to the hospital. They can't make decisions for themselves. They're not safe to be alone, so they're forced to go to the hospital. They're kept for a certain amount of time.
But going to the hospital is one thing, but going to rehab is something totally different. You know, I mean, by that time they're pretty much not drunk anymore, and it's like, nope, just want to go home.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Yeah. And that's when a lot of times we end up finding them dead.
Yeah.
So, I was just wondering, because I know I've heard a lot of talk about, we should be making them lock them up and everything and this and that. But would there be any benefit to that? At what point does someone make that decision that, hey, you're not able to make a decision to keep yourself safe anymore?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's benefit of forcing anything on them. Like I talked about yesterday, and it's a controversial program, and I get it, but risk reduction, harm reduction programs are what's working globally, and it's just keeping the patient safe until they're ready to make that step to recovery. So that's where we're at right now, and that's what we're working with in Jewett City.
How does that process work with you guys, Griswold Pride? Because I only know limited about what you guys do.
Yeah, so we work with perception programs, which offers the harm reduction, risk reduction program. It's a syringe service program. So it is needle exchange. However, we also provide other services, including HIV, Hep C testing, wound care, connection to treatment services. And we establish, trust in a relationship with our clients that we see weekly. We'll go out and clean up needles that people are reporting on social media or whatever, and we establish a trust with the client. So hopefully one day they'll come and they will say, okay, today's the day, I'm ready. So we do that once a week on Friday afternoons from 1 to 3, and it is behind the town hall in the lower back parking lot.
Miranda, here's another question, and then I'll let you go and tell Romeo I said hi.
I will.
We talk about needles, people finding needles. You know what I see a plethora of all over the place? I mean, literally every street corner, all throughout the park are these little nip bottles.
Oh yeah, I know. That's everywhere.
It's like almost like an epidemic for crying out loud. They're everywhere.
They're cheap.
Everywhere. They're cheaper and yeah, they're convenient because they're one sippers. But I don't know. I know at some point there was talk of banning nip bottles and just going to the regular pints or half pints, whatever you call them. But it was just because of the litter factor of it, and I don't think it went anywhere. But there was talk about that. And now that I just pulled into Putnam, and it reminded me of they're big on the arts culture up here, and on their beautification day, they actually held a contest, and whoever collected the most nip bottles won some sort of prize. But those nip bottles were turned into art and statues, and it was amazing what these artists came up with up here.
Couldn't do that if they
all
banned
over Main Street.
Yeah.
But no, well, actually, when we did the RTC cleanup that day for Earth Day last year, we went and did the park, and we must have had a bag full of nip bottles and stuff. But I don't see banning nip bottles working either.
No, I don't mean banning them, but throw them in the damn garbage, you slobs.
That would be the biggest thing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jeez. Like,
I think they could look at taxing them first, putting the little 5 cent
tax.
whatever. Yeah,
Deposit
something
bottle
like
tax.
that. Yeah.
Oh
that
yeah,
might help us.
I would make $1,000 if they put a bottle deposit on nip bottles.
Oh yeah,
because they would be everywhere. See, like Miranda, there was this lady that used to walk by the station. She'd come up Tracy Avenue. Now, I haven't seen her in a long, long time, but she used to walk up Tracy Avenue, go down to the liquor store, and we're talking 9 o'clock in the morning. And next thing you know, she's walking back up, and she'd walk down Tracy, and then she would down like 2 or 3 nips while she's walking, and then she would take the bottles and chuck them into people's bushes and shrubs.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's blatant.
Yeah, I come collect them and glue them to her door. That's what.
Yeah. Anyway, Miranda, thank you as always. Being there.
No problem. Thanks for having me on again. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Have a good day. Tell Romeo I said hey.
I will.
All right. Bye, Miranda. Be safe.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye. All right. Miranda Mahoney from Gristle Pride. Always very helpful and always willing to give information. So that's cool. So we've covered some stuff today.
Yeah,
we had a nice
wide range.
Yeah, we had a nice conversation with Mike Alberts, the new president.
Yeah, he was an
and
interesting
CEO.
guy. Yeah.
Yep, interesting guy, and we wish him well over at the Jewett City Savings Bank. He does have big shoes to fill, because Kevin Merchant was such a dynamic figure.
I think it's interesting. He went from Air Force to being a banker. That's
right. And you know what? I mean, like I said, Merchant, was so dynamic, in the community, and you're used to one thing, but then there's one thing that always stays the same is that there's change.
Right. Well, change is inevitable.
Exactly.
Nothing gets better without change, but nothing gets worse without you're going to change no matter what.
Right. So we look forward to supporting Mike Alberts and his journey with the Jewett City Savings Bank as president and CEO. So, Mike, thanks if you're listening now. Thanks for coming on in. And thanks to Miranda once again for giving us an update on. So now we know there's a 1-year moratorium. So people can't even, or organizations can't even put an application in to have a retail establishment for cannabis or submit to be a grower.
That'll be interesting. I don't know how that's going to work out, but
we'll have to see.
Yeah,
as time goes on. Rich, thanks for coming in on the
My
end.
pleasure. Thank you.
So you'll be here next Tuesday.
I'm going to try. I believe so far I can. Yes.
Yeah, and I think we should add Thursdays to your.
Thursdays, yeah.
Just quit your job, man. We don't. They don't.
Actually, I could do one Thursday. When I'm on midnight shift, I could do a Thursday.
I can't keep doing this. Poor guy. Anyway, all right. Paul Ash will be back tomorrow morning. I'll be back as well. Sorry. Have a great day, everyone.
Enjoy.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Reliable plumbing and heating services are just a phone call away when you contact the professionals at McGuire Plumbing and Heating in Voluntown. Family owned for more than 35 years, McGuire Plumbing and Heating has earned a reputation by providing accurate quotes and being open and honest when on the job, plus giving honest advice that may be needed down the road but isn't an immediate concern today. Find McGuire Plumbing and Heating on Facebook or call 860-376-3388. Look for the big truck with the little Irish fella. McGuire Plumbing and Heating, proud sponsor of Griswold Youth Football.
Family owned and operated. That's something you don't hear too often anymore. Highway Campers of Plainfield is now 3 generations in and going strong. If you're looking to upgrade or get your first RV, contact the family that knows RVs, Highway Campers. They'll walk you through the process of finding the right RV for you and can even finance it for you. Visit www.highwaycampers.com and find your home on wheels. After all, home is where you park it. Highway Campers is a proud supporter of Griswold Youth Football.
Hello, I'm Miranda Mahoney, Project Coordinator of Griswold Pride, your drug-free community coalition. We want to help you keep your kids safe during this challenging time. Social distancing is still in effect, and so is the social host law. Reports are coming in that teens are contracting the virus at underage drinking parties. Parents, allowing underage drinking on your property could land you in jail for up to a year, plus fines. Another reason why you should not provide alcohol to our youth. For more info, go to griswoldpride.org. griswoldpride.org. griswoldpride.org.
Hi, this is Alan Gear. You may know me as Mr. Jewett City. I want to tell you about my experience with our local eye doctor, Dr. Joel Zuckerbrun. I recently had cataract surgery, and I was told that I needed new glasses. I didn't know what to do because the problem was this was right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Where the heck was I going to